Hey guys, it's Cain here. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to create menus and toolbars using Microsoft Visual Studio and Visual C#. So without losing any further time, let's get started. First of all, I'm just gonna go into and create a new project, and in here, as always, I'm gonna select Windows Form Applications under Visual C# section. Since I'm gonna do a menus and toolbars example, I'm gonna name it as menus and toolbars project. Once this is done, I'm gonna press on OK, and a new project will be created. Now, from the toolbox section, we are going to find menus and toolbars under this section. And we're gonna see a couple of these menus and toolbars to create our navigation menu, a right-click pop-up menu, and also a toolbar. So I'll start with the menuStrip, which is kind of like a navigation menu. You can drag and drop it in here onto your form, and as soon as you do, you'll realize that a menuStrip is being created over here. If you click on that, you can now edit the text and also other properties of that menuStrip. Instead of calling it menuStrip 1, I'm gonna name it as menu navigation. Yeah. It's very cool. Now, once I have done that, I'm gonna come in here and create the menu that I like to see on my form. So I am going to start with file or form. Let's call it form, and the form basically refers to this form, and under that section I'm going to create a couple of options. For example, form new, form clear, let's do a clear one, and also exit. Now with each option, now you can go and name them. As you can see, they have an equivalent name in here being listed down, and you can actually go and name them. So this one is called new toolstrip menu item. This one is called clear toolstrip menu item, and that one is called exit toolstrip menu item. If you don't like any of these names, you can simply go there and change them. So for example, instead of this toolstrip menu, I'm just gonna call this new item, this one as clear item, and the last one as exit item. The wonderful thing about the menus is that you can actually set a lot of its features without typing any line of code. So you can come in here and go down in the properties, and you can assign a shortcut for each of the items you have under your navigation menu. In here, for example, I'm gonna set up the shortcut keys and expand this and press on Control and N, which will obviously link this shortcut with this specific item, and I'll just call it true. And as soon as I do that, you will see that Control N is now assigned to name. I'm just gonna do the same thing for Control. Let's do it Shift and C for this one. Whoops, this property is not valid, so it didn't allow me to actually select the value for that one. So I'm just gonna go and assign another thing. This is actually a good practice, so you will know which items are available for you whenever you select an option from the menu, basically. So I've just assigned it to Control F1, and for the exit, usually in Windows platform, exit is Alt F4. So just gonna select Alt and go down F4 on the list. And once I have done this, each of these items will be linked with their shortcuts. Now I'm going to come into any item over here, and just before I type its name, I'll put an end symbol. This will allow an underline over the first letter or on the letter that I just put the end sign before being visible. This means that whenever you press on the Alt key, this will actually select the component in here, and from there onwards you can reach to subcomponents using the same method. So instead of going there, I'm just gonna type end at the beginning of N, and for clear I'm gonna do the same thing in front of C, and for exit I'm gonna do just before X, which will underline the X. So each time it does this, you will see that one letter will be underlined. Now I'm gonna build up the project and try to run it. Now I can go there and select the menu, or what I could do is I could press on the Alt key now and highlight. By highlighting now, I can select one option from the menu. If I press on Alt key and X, for example, it will exit. If I press on Alt key and C, it will clear it. And finally, if I press on Alt, open up the menu with F, and then press on N, that will create a new item. Currently, none of these options are actually hard-coded at the background, so none of them does anything. So we will close the form and we'll go into each of these options to type some code so that each time we press them, something will be triggered. So I'm going to start with a new, double click on it, and you will see that new item click function will be created at the background. Go back and do the same thing for clear as well as for exit. For new item, I want to create a new menu. For clear item, I want to clear the form components inside, and finally for exit, I want to exit from form. So quickly, I will use the toolbox in here with the common controls, and I will drag and drop a text box. So I'm just gonna make the properties here bigger so we can see it clearly. I'm just gonna make this 18, let's say, and slightly bigger like that. And also we can put up a label in front of it telling the user regarding what we expect them to enter into the field. So I'm just gonna make this bold and 16, and I'm just gonna call it enter name. Now because I'm just playing around with the components, I'm not gonna complete this form. I'm just trying to show you how you can link these items with the form components so they can do something. Since this text box is something that we're gonna use at the background, we need to give it a meaningful name. For example, text name could be a name that you can give, and we can use that name at the background to clear the box. Now when I come to the form and new, I can actually use the property of that specific component. So I can literally use this, which refers to this specific class, and text name dot text equals to empty, which means everything inside this will be empty. This will obviously written into the new item, so I have to carry this to the clear one rather than the new one, because the new one will create a new form for us. So in order to type it correctly, we're gonna say new, the name of our form, which is form 1, and we're gonna create the new form plus make it visible just by showing it. So that will actually create a new form 1 and make it instantly visible by triggering the show function. The final one is the exit, which I'm gonna use application.exit, and that will actually close the entire application. Not only one form, but multiple of them at the same time. So I'm just gonna save this and try to run it. You can build up the solution or directly run it, whatever you want. This one is cutting the edge of the label, so maybe I should carry it a little bit on the right side just to make it more visible. Yeah, so that looks good. Now I'm gonna type some random data in it, like my name, and going into the form, I'm just gonna press on clear. And as you can see, it clears the form. If I go there and press on new, it will create the same form again. And if I keep doing it, it will keep creating it. The final functionality is the exit form. So it clears the form, and now if I press on exit, it will close the application. So that is how you can create a navigation menu. Now that you underline certain letters in your options menu, you can also use the Alt key to trigger this menu. So you can simply press on the Alt key and F to pop up the menu of navigation, and just by pressing exit, which is the X button on your keyboard, you can close the entire application. We can also create some other menus, such as a pop-up menu. So to create that, we can come into here and just drag and drop it onto the form. The context menu has to be named first. Just go down and give it a proper name that you can remember. A good name can be Pop-up Menu. Now the pop-up menu will not be directly visible to you on the form. It's not like a navigation menu. You have to manually link this menu to one of the components of the form or to the form itself. So I'm gonna create a couple of options in my context menu. Just call it copy, for example, cut, and finally paste. Now if I run this application, you will see that the context menu items are nowhere. Even if I right click on the form or anywhere else, you won't be able to see the menu that we created. To do that, we have to go down and make sure to link it somewhere. So it would be nice actually to give it a proper link to one of the components. So I'm gonna go in there, and if you want to link it to the text box, you have to find the context menuStrip option, which is by default none. You can also link it to the form itself, which has the same option. I am going to link the menu to my text box. So I'm going to go into the context menuStrip of my text name component, and from the drop down menu I'm going to select pop-up menu. By doing so, when you run the application, when you right click on it, now you will be able to see copy, cut and paste being available to you. So let's just get started with this. So I'm just going to come in here, open up the pop-up menu, and for each component I'm just going to say copy, double click, go back, cut, double click, go back, paste, double click. And in order to make this functionality run, I'm just going to type this text name dot copy. Underneath that we have the cut option, so that should be this text name dot cut. And Finally, underneath that we have the paste option. So this text name dot paste. It's a very straightforward statement. So it does the copy, cut and paste operations when text is selected. You might also have noticed that I'm typing this each time I want to type text name. This actually is a keyword that we use to select the variables or methods in a class and referring to this class itself. It is an object-oriented standard, or let's say a pattern of programming. But even if you don't type this in here, your application would work fine. So I just do that to remember what name did I give to my component. But if you actually delete this, your application will still work. There will be literally no difference. So this is a programming style rather than anything else. Before running the application, make sure to save it. Go into the debug, press F5 or just select start debugging. Let's see how this is gonna work now. So I'm gonna type my name here. Make sure that the text is selected. Right click, copy. Right click, cut, right click, paste. And as you can see, the option actually works. If you get out of the component and right click on it on anywhere else, it doesn't work. It will only trigger the pop-up menu when you are inside the text box, and in nowhere else you will not see this pop-up menu. I'm just gonna cut it, and as you can see, I can't paste it anywhere else. I can't see the pop-up menu. I come here again and say paste, and all that information now is pasted in this area. So I'm gonna come and clear the form, and I'm gonna come and exit. So that is how you can create a context menu, which is basically a pop-up menu. The last component that I like to show you in this video is called the toolstrip. The toolstrip is exactly as the menuStrip, with one distinct difference. Instead of creating everything like a navigation menu, you can actually select what you want to create. So you can actually select a button, a drop-down list, a label, or anything else to create inside the navigation menu. In order to use toolstrip, once again drag and drop it in here, and make sure to change its name. Go down and name it as tools menu. Once you have done that, you will see an icon in here. So when you expand that icon, you can put anything inside that navigation menu. Could be a button, label, drop down button. Can even put separators in between multiple components, or you can allow the user to have a text box such as a search area in your form if you would like to do that. For this example, I'm gonna use a couple of buttons, a couple of images that I actually found over the internet, and I named them as supplementary material. So I'm gonna use particularly the close and the toolbox, just to show you how you can put them inside the project. So I'm gonna come in here into my form once again, and first thing I'm just gonna create a button. Once I have created the button, make sure that it has a name and also a tooltip text, which is basically the text that will appear on that button. Close the form. I'm gonna name this as tool close. Once you have given a meaningful name to your component, make sure to find the image property of the button. You see it's in here. Click on the icon next to it and import the image you would like to use. I'm gonna use the supplementary materials and close button in here and select that one. and I'm gonna import this source to my project. Once you have done it, you will see the icon in here, but it is not exactly the size that is matching with your the original size. So if you want your image to match to the original size that you already defined, you can come to the section called image scaling, press on here and select none. That will take up the image to its original size, so you can now see it quite big, and it's just very visible there. And other important property is probably alignment, which is the layout, how this is going to be visible on the form. By default, the alignment for the tool components are on the left side, but you can technically take it on the right as well, just by doing so. You can also create multiple components in here. You don't have to create only one, just as we did before. So I'm going to come in here, click on this icon and select another button. And this time around, I'm just going to select it as Toolbox. And just in there, I'm just going to go up and once again find the image and put an image in here, the toolbox, and OK. Now the toolbox is quite small, but I can change that using the size to fit and making sure that it will be visible there. So I'm gonna run this application and I see the toolbox icon there, as well as the close icon. Now on the close icon, if I wait, it says close the form, and in here it says toolstrip button 1. You can simply go in there and change toolstrip button 1 to something else, whatever you want to display in there. Make sure to change the tooltip text property. This button does nothing. And once you have done that, you can simply press on F5, run the application, and if you now wait on it, it says this button does nothing. If you want to assign a functionality to your tool strip buttons, all you have to do is to give a meaningful name and double click on them. As soon as you do this, as always, Visual Studio will create a function at the background linked to that specific button, and now you can type the code inside. For this example, I'm going to copy paste application.exit to the tool close click, and I'm just going to create a message box for this one, just to show a message on the screen. This button does nothing. I'm going to run the application once again by pressing F5, and just going to come in here, select my name, cut, paste and paste. This one is working. If I click on that one, it says this button does nothing, and if I click on that one, it closes the form. Now that you know how to use a navigation menu, a pop-up menu, and also a tool strip menu, you can enhance your applications however you like. In the next video, I'm going to use these functionalities to create a Notepad Lite application. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.